Joining me now is Congressman Eric Swalwell. He's a member of the House Homeland Security Committee. He's also now a candidate for governor of California. Okay, I am sure you read this story. I just did my best to summarize that crazy story. But what stood out to you?
Well, this is why they're not being funded right now. Nobody wants to pay for this. But what really jumps off the page of the story and your lead in there is that these guys, these ICE agents, they're dragging women by their hair through the streets, chasing people through the fields and the farms where they work. They've shot a nurse named Preddy and a mom named Good. And the only person in the world who has been held accountable by the Department of Homeland Security is the pilot who somehow forgot to move Kristi Noem's blankie. I mean, that's bananas. And you would at least expect that maybe you would have a slap on the wrist or like a thumbs down on their socials, or the ICE officers would not be paid for maybe the day that they publicly executed these two individuals. No, there's been no accountability except to punitively go after a pilot. It's sick, and that's why they're not being funded right now.
That pilot's got some storytelling. I am certain of it. There are so many ways to look at this, and sometimes, you know, I never want to get in the head of Donald Trump, neither do you or the Trump administration. But why do you think he is keeping Kristi Noem around at this point?
Well, he also is in a position where the only thing that matches his political decline is his physical decline. And that's quite scary, because that means people like Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, Corey Lewandowski, Tom Homan, and others are really in charge. And that's why we see an immigrant community right now that is subjected to community terror. Now, I will say the Achilles heel, and this is what I want your viewers to like really key in on, the Achilles heel for Donald Trump is that he does not like being unpopular. Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, they can tolerate being unpopular. Donald Trump cannot stand when people go to the streets, when there's wall-to-wall coverage against him, and that's when he sees it, he can change the policy. So that's why we have to be as loud as possible. We need rock-solid governors standing up to him across the country, but rise up in the streets and then beat him at the ballot box, and we can see the best changes until we get out of this nightmare with a new president.
One of the challenges right now, and I think for everybody watching too, is you sort of hear things projected from the administration, but then it's like trying to keep yourself abreast of what's actually happening on the ground. And Tom Homan's announcement yesterday, it did sound like a retreat in Minnesota. Let's certainly hope it is. But you spend a lot of time thinking, as a member of the committee, what is actually happening with ICE around the country? I mean, there's been tons of reporting about them buying up detention facilities, about them buying more office space, about going into additional cities. What should people watching right now understand, even as they are pulling out of Minnesota, and let's hope that happens, about what's still really happening around the country? Yeah.
So people want accountability, and they still see ICE in our neighborhoods. We saw this in Santa Clara just last weekend at the Super Bowl, with ICE, you know, unnecessarily coming into the community around the Super Bowl. We have the World Cup, 8 games in the Bay Area, 8 games in Los Angeles, and there's a fear that ICE is going to suppress the local economy with their presence. I was talking last week at a town hall that I had in San Jose, and a woman who works at a grocery store told me, she said, when I go to the parking lot at night, when my shift ends, and somebody rolls up in a van and they're wearing a mask and tell me to get in, are they ICE or are they a bad guy? And people can't tell right now, and they want accountability. And so I'm very happy to see that Senate Democrats and House Democrats and even some Senate Republicans are saying, we're not going to give these guys a penny until the public executions stop, the masks come off, the identification comes out, and these guys are finally held accountable.
To that point, I mean, the deadline is technically in, I guess, just under 3 hours. There's not going to be a deal before then.
Yeah.
What happens now for people watching? Because now it's still pushing for these reforms, but ICE is still funded because of the money in the big ugly bill. So what should people expect now, and what do the negotiations look like from here?
Well, Democrats should not validate or co-sign on anything that they're doing. And if they're going to fund it anyway from money that they had in the past, they can do that. What we have to telegraph is that when we are in the majority, when we have the power of the purse, and that's not too far away, and in fact, that could be in 2 weeks. The margins are so thin in Congress, and some of them are threatening to quit right now. But when we're in the majority, we will have a lot more leverage to have the masks come off, to have body cameras on every agent, to get rid of roving patrols, to strip out the qualified immunity that makes them think they're invincible. And as long as voters know that's what we're going to do when we're in charge, they'll be with us. And then if people go to the streets, we go to the courts, and where we have leverage in the House and the Senate, we don't vote for the funding. We can hold this together, get through it, and then win the midterms and cut our time in hell by half.
I think it's going to continue to be a thing people are focused on. Of course, we'll keep talking about it. Congressman Eric Swalwell, thank you, as always, for joining me.
My pleasure. Thanks, Jen.